Good morning, my dear students, the students of grade 5. Today's lesson is going to be divided into two parts. The first part is the grammar, which is commas, how to put commas. It's a very simple lesson, but a very tricky one as well. And the second part, which is the writing, we're going to take a new writing topic today. Let's start with the first part, which is grammar, how to put the comma. Most of the students, when I say put a comma, they are going to tell me, yes, teacher, we know how to put a comma. We put comma after yes, after no. We put comma if we are mentioning something in a series. Like, for example, I said red, yellow, and finally I put the word and with the last color. I know that most of you know it, but today I divided the commas into four parts, four possessions for the commas. Just have a big look here. I'm sorry for the shape of the arrows here, but I try to do it as much as I can. But I think that this is my best. I did my best to put it like this. So first of all, the commas. What are the commas? The commas are using or are used in English in order to clarify meanings and to tell the readers where to pause or where to stop. You put the comma in order to tell the reader you have to stop here, you have to stop in this one, you have to stop 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then you continue reading. The possessions of commas, you have four possessions for commas. Four possessions for commas. The first one in here, after every item in a series, as I told you, but not the last one. But the last one, it means do not put it with the last one. Like, for example, when I say the audience applauded, cheered, and stood up. So here I have a series of actions. I have applauded, cheered, and stood up. So three actions here. If you can see, after applauded, I put a comma here. This is the comma. I put a comma here. I'm going to change the color. Yeah, this one. And the cheered, this is another comma, the second action. With the third action here, pay attention. I didn't put, yeah, in here. Yes, in here, I didn't put here a comma. Why? Because this is the last action in the series. So guys, when I put a series of actions or a series of events or a series of things, I have to put a comma after the first one, the second, the third, the fourth, but not the last one. But not the last one. I put and with the last one. So the audience applauded, cheered, and stood up. This is the first one, the first possession. The second possession in here is when you speak or write to someone. For example, you want to speak or to write to someone, you may use the person's name or title. For example, you're talking to the teacher, so you put the word teacher, or you put his name, Mr. Muhammad, Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Nusair, for example. This noun of a direct address is set off with a comma or two commas if it's in the middle of a sentence. So, for example, when I say, will you read some more, Mr. Berry? Uh, will you read some more? All that, this is my question. And I'm addressing the person himself. I'm talking to my teacher, to Mr. Berry. So I put his name and proceeded with a comma. Before his name, I put a comma here. Why I put a comma? To tell the reader that this is my question and this is the addressed person or the person that I'm talking to, Mr. Berry. Okay, guys. So will you read some more, Mr. Berry? I put a comma here as you can see it. This is possession number two. The number possession number three is that this one, the appositives. Appositives, what are appositives? Are noun phrases that describe another noun. So they are noun phrases that describe another noun. How, teacher? Like, for example, when I'm writing something about Ted Koser. Ted Koser, who is Ted Koser? He is a wonderful poet. A wonderful poet, someone who writes poetry, as you know. So Ted Koser, a wonderful poet, this is a noun phrase that describes Ted Koser, this one here. So a wonderful poet describes a Ted Koser. That's why I put two commas here. One here and why one here? Why, teacher, you put two commas? Because it comes in the middle of the sentence. When something comes in the middle of the sentence, I put it with two commas. When a noun phrase come in the middle of the sentence, you put two commas, like this one here. The description of Ted Koser is that he is a wonderful poet. A wonderful poet, I put a comma here and a comma here. Okay, this is possession number 3. Possession number 4. And the last one, oh, it's down. Yes. Put a comma after an introductory word or phrase such as yes. You put a comma after yes, after no, after well, after the word of course, and after in fact. Like when I say, for example, no, I haven't read the new book. I haven't read the new book. Yes, I have got here no with the comma here. And in the second part of the sentence, I have as usual, and then comma, I'm too busy as usual here, and then a comma. So you can put a comma after yes, after no, well, of course, in fact, as usual, like this one. Those were the four possessions of the comma. So let's repeat them again, revise with me, guys. The commas, what are the commas? The commas, I told you, are clarifying meanings and they tell the readers where to pause. Pause, it means to stop. The possessions of commas, we have four possessions of commas, four possessions, four places you put comma in. Number one, after every item in a series, but not the last one. Number two, when you speak to someone or you write to someone, this direct address has to set off with a comma, like with the one here, Mr. Berry. So when I'm talking to someone or I'm writing to someone, I have to precede his name with a comma. I have to put a comma before his name. The third possession is the noun phrases. Any noun phrase like this one here, a wonderful poet, describes a noun before it. So you have to put it in between two commas. The last one and the easiest one of them all is that put a comma after yes, no, well, of course, and in fact, and the word as usual. Those were the four possessions of the commas. Let's go back in here again. Yes, let's go back in here in the commas. This is your lesson in Readers and Writers Notebook, page 410. In 410, you will find here, for example, add commas to each sentence where they are needed. Like, for example, when I say, number one, Harry enjoys writing stories, poems, and articles. In here, you will find stories, poems, and articles. This is a series of things. He mentioned here stories, poems, articles, three things. So by mentioning three things, it means that you're going to put a comma after the first one, a comma after the second one, and the third one here is already having the word and. Because we put a comma in a series of actions or a series of events, but not the last one. This is the last one here, so I have to put and. Okay. Number two, read. Vani, do you prefer reading fairy tales, tall tales, or mess? And this question here, keep focusing, guys. Here, Vani, why you put here a comma after Vani? Because this is a name. So this is address the person. Addressed person, it means a person that you are talking to. So you have to put a comma after him. And then here he has fairy tales, tall tales, or mess. He has got here three kinds of topics or writings. So after fairy tales, he put a comma. The second one, tall tales, he put another comma, and the word mess, he has got or and. But he didn't put here another comma because this is the last one, because the word mess is the last one. Okay, guys, you can check the others, all of them from number 1 to number 6, and how they add a comma, and ask yourself why we put a comma here. It has to be one of the four possessions that I told you about. It has to be one of the four possessions that I told you about. And down here, rewrite each sentence by adding a comma. By the way, King Midas, what did you learn about gold? And here I have the word by the way. By the way, like the word as usual, like the word in fact, it has to be followed by a comma. And then King Midas, I put another comma. Why I put another comma after King Midas? Because he is the person that I'm talking to, the person that I am talking to. What did you learn about gold? So I put a comma here and I put another comma here. And down here, in the last one, I learned that gold is cold, hard, and meaningless by itself. And here I learned that gold is cold, hard, and meaningless. Yeah, I have got cold and hard and meaningless. I have I have three things here: cold, hard, and meaningless. It means that he mentioned a series, and by mentioning a series, you have to put a comma after the first one, a comma after the second one. Even if you have 100 item in the series that he mentioned, it's okay. Put 100 commas, but the last one, do not put a comma before it. Do not put a comma before the last item. This was today's lesson about the grammar, guys. I hope you understand. And we're going to move to the second part of our lesson today, which is the writing, which is the writing. Yes, in here in Reading Street, page 396 and 397. After our story yesterday of King Midas and the Golden Touch, we have a new kind of writing. Listen to this part and we're going to talk about it together.
Parody. A parody retells a familiar story in a new and comical way. Readers should be able to recognize the story on which the parody is based. The student model on the next page is an example of a parody. Writing prompt.
Yeah, so we have a parody now. We have a parody. What is a parody? A parody, it means that you're going to rewrite the story again. For example, the story of King Midas. We're going to rewrite the story of King Midas again, but in a very funny way, like the student model here on the right.
Student model. King Impulsive. King Impulsive was known as a pet lover who had no pets. So one day, without any thought, he cried, "I wish that every animal I touched would become my pet." The next day, King Impulsive went outside and saw a scrawny dog. The king patted the dog's head, and at once the dog stopped slinking and trotted confidently into the palace kitchen, where it found a royal meal. Minutes later, a mouse scampered across King Impulsive's foot. As soon as it touched him, the mouse stopped. It looked at the king and then headed for the palace. King Impulsive followed the mouse. There, he saw mice running and dogs barking everywhere. "I can't take this," King Impulsive screamed, and he wished for the magic touch to be removed. Now, it would be nice to tell you that King Impulsive was less impulsive after his pet experience. However, the next day, he impulsively changed his name to King Midas, and you've heard all about him.
Good. So a parody today, a parody topic, how to write it. The first step is that you have to write the title here in the middle, the title of the story in the middle, and then you have to rewrite the story again of King Midas, for example. You're going to write a parody about King Midas and the Golden Touch. So you put the title of the story here in the middle, and then you start writing the events of the story, all of it from the beginning till the end, but in a funny way. From the beginning till the end, it doesn't mean here that you're going to write all the details. No, you can summarize all the story and write it in 1 page or 2 pages, 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs. Write the story again, but in a very funny way. This is the parody. Okay, guys, waiting for your homework to check the parody and how every one of you thinks about the story. And this was the last part of today's lesson. Don't forget, our lesson today was divided into grammar and parody. Grammar, which was the commas, how to write commas and how to put commas in the sentences. And the second part is was the writing, which was parody. I hope everyone understands. And I have to tell you something about yesterday online session. The online session yesterday was outstanding. I missed all of you guys, and I hope you are safe and sound. Until I meet you again on Thursday, please stay safe and sound. And for any questions or any inquiries, just send me. Do not hesitate to send me at any time. Thank you, guys. See you. Bye.